So I guess it's true. I have been on the record saying that I wouldn't trust anything that comes out of an actor's mouth in promotion of a film. But I may have to change my stance because recently an actor, or in this case, actress, came out and gave me something to think about. Whether or not a film was actually going to be good. I can't believe this was a real story, but I couldn't keep it all to myself. So let's take a look. We're going to start here with the headline. Dakota Johnson says it was absolutely psychotic to film Madam Web with a blue screen. I don't know if this is going to be good at all. Well, I, I have some thoughts. I'm not sure you want to hear them, Dakota, but I anticipate it may not be all that good. Just another reminder that we are sponsored by my company, Beach Punk. That's right. You can get all of your Beach Punk gear like this hat and many others located there, along with any kind of gear that you would use at the beach, including flip flops and such. So do check that out. It does help the channel. In other words, it helps me. And as we go to build actual studios around the country over the next few years, obviously, that's a funding mechanism that I'm going to need. So, as I choke on nothing at all, take a sip of tea here. We'll get started. Let's start here with the headline as I read. Now, this isn't a good sign. It kind of indicates that she's not convinced it's going to be a good film. Normally, a star comes out, they do some talk shows, they do interviews, they sit down with Variety or do a stand up, like at somebody else's premiere and talk about things. Kind of like what Rachel Zegler did to destroy Snow White coming out here in the future. Normally, they don't say things that are negative about the projects that they have coming up or in any way will turn off the audience, at least prior to modern Hollywood of the last, let's say, 8 or 9 years. Regardless, you wouldn't expect a seasoned person like Dakota Johnson, who understands this process, to come out and say this. So, in this Variety article that came out yesterday, or as of when this is recorded, I guess technically you won't see this until the 29th, which is Monday, but that's fine. So, Dakota Johnson is filming this film, and she put a lot of trust in director S.J. Clarkson during filming. So she is Cassandra Webb. She is the key character in this Madam Webb film. And she essentially is going to be the old lady that we all picture from the comics. Even for the people that are familiar with the fact that this was an actual comic book character, this in no way looks like the character that you're familiar with. Too young and, well, active and not attached to a machine that basically keeps her alive. Sound familiar? Anyway, so I guess this is going to be a thriller, a superhero thriller. Sony's Spider-Man universe is what they're feeding into. And again, I'm going to point out, as I did in a previous video, another one of these short forms, I'll just say there's no Spider-Man in this, at least not that we've had reported. And the guy that they had going to go in there, got, sent away. So don't anticipate anything good coming out of this. Anyway, so she stated, I've never really done a movie where you are on a blue screen and there's fake explosions going off and someone's going, explosion, and you act like there's an explosion. That to me was absolutely psychotic. I was like, I don't know if this is going to be good at all. I hope I did an okay job. Now, this isn't the first time we've heard this quote from her, but it's strange that it's now being widely reported as something notable. So she said specifically, I trusted Clarkson, noting that she would often check in with the director to keep a sense of what was real versus what was in her head. She works so hard and she has not taken her eyes off this movie since we started. I think she's referring to S.J. Clarkson. Now, I will say this. This is an all-woman thing. This is like the MCU version of the MCU in Sony land. And I'm think that the results are going to speak volumes into what exactly the cost of that idea is. I think it's going to be a very negative box office. But hey, just my perspective. They did keep the numbers down, which again, if you're Sony, you have to, if you're going to lean this hard into the message. But yeah, so I guess this all started to kick off around 2021 after she finished filming The Lost Daughter. Johnson admitted she was hesitant about the role. She said, I got sent this script and I was like, I don't know about me being a superhero. Well, I don't know either. Most of the time, you're going to know in your gut whether or not you should jump at a chance like this. And normally, if your agent is working for the length of your career, they're going to want you to do good quality films. You might mix in a stinker accidentally once in a while, but they're usually going to want you to have a good picker, and they're going to try to help you pick so that they get a paycheck for longer. But anyway, so she said that Cassandra had some mystifying powers. She felt like, oh, I really would love to see that superhero. I would love to see a young woman whose superpower is her mind. Well, yeah, sort of, kinda. This is not really the Madam Web that you're going to be familiar with in the in the comic books, that's for sure. So she also recalled the stunts that she had to perform, particularly the day of stunt driving work. All right. I'm really good at it, it seems. I mean, I can do some really wild things with a car. I drove an ambulance, a taxi cab. I drove everything in the movie except for flying through the air and out of a building. But other than that, I'm like, watch out, Tom Cruise. And again, they remind us that this film is opening on Valentine's Day. But look, I don't have particularly good thoughts about where this is heading, but I do know that the industry is wild about her, probably because of her family members. I mean, this is a Nepo baby. She has a famous father and mother, let's just say. But she did make an appearance over on Saturday Night Live, and Fallon and Timberlake actually crashed her monologue. At the end of the show, Chappelle made a surprise appearance. So there's that. But she talked quite openly about some things that may not make her popular with the ideologically fixed left side of the aisle. So she made some references to the former occupant of the Oval Office, and made a call out and shout out to Taylor Swift. So, in fact, here it is. She said, "Look at this collection of people. Crazy to be standing so close to someone who would become the most powerful person in America," pointing out, obviously, um, Taylor Swift. But at the very end of the episode, you had the entire troupe there, including, as I mentioned, Dave Chappelle standing on the far right next to Jimmy Fallon. That's amazing. I don't know why he's standing there, but good for him to be around. Probably because he's doing some comedy work in New York. But Chappelle gave a broad smile, clapped and bowed at the crowd, didn't say anything. Well, good, because then they can't attack him. But during her monologue segment, she did poke fun at the fact that she is at present on a media tour to promote her upcoming Sony Pictures Thriller, Madam Web. Why are they labeling it a quote unquote thriller? Is there like a who done it here? Is it varying that widely from a comic book film? I don't know. But anyway, she noted that she doesn't usually enjoy interacting with journalists. Does anybody? And that this has been a constant in her life. And then she queued up a clip of herself as a preteen goofing off on the red carpet with her dad, who is Don Johnson. That's right. And by the way, her mother, Melanie Griffith. So yeah, if she wasn't ready to be in Hollywood, I don't know who was. But anyway, Timberlake showed up, and he said, "If you want me to be in sketches, I've hosted one before." He said, raising his hand to indicate that he'd hosted the show 5 times. Well, he has. And then he made a risky joke at his faux mistake that referenced the 2006 hit that he had, Sexy Back. There you go. He said, first he was bringing Sexy Back, and now he's bringing coming back, or whatever. Oh, that's not a good joke. He said, now that I've heard that aloud, yeah, couldn't have been any worse than what Fallon said, which was break a leg. There you go. Anyway, you can see the brothers Gibb right there. That looks fantastic. Look at that. I'm sure that was funny. Hey, it's funny. You get the right talent and they get the right bit. They can really do a good job on Saturday Night Live, but that's deader than dead. I mean, they've had a small uptick in ratings since their return, but they're still incredibly woke, full of the message and other things. So we'll have to see if they turn that around. But regardless, I just thought that'd be a fun conversation to have. I'm not sure that this film is going to be good, and obviously neither is anybody involved in it. I fully anticipate Madam Web to lose at least $100 million. I don't think it'll exceed a global box office of 200 million. And as some people have suggested in some of the comments around this on my channel in the comments boxes, and I do read those folks and I respond to them, they've suggested that it probably won't beat the Marvels. I agree. I'm 100% in agreement with that. I think this is going to, for lack of a better way of saying it, really stink. See, I cleaned up the language there. It's dog duty. Yeah. I have a feeling that that's going to be the case for pretty much everything that they're willing to offer over there at Sony in terms of the quote unquote Spider Verse. None of this stuff's going to be tied to a Spider-Man, which means that the stink from it won't be, fortunately, leaking over there. And you can only blame one person over there, and that's Amy. And boy, does she have some terrible ideas. I wonder why. On that note, let me know what you think, let me know what you think about what's going to happen with Madam Web. And give me those thoughts down below in the comment section. We can have a conversation about that and your expectations for performance. Let me know what you think. And on that note, be sure to take care of yourself, take care of others, and until next time, see ya.